Good morning, good morning. How is everyone? All right? So yeah, you may have noticed though that I'm not speaking Ivrit, I'm speaking English. So for that, first off, I apologize, but Yaniv has personally confirmed that if there is any problems understanding the presentation or what I'm talking about, Yaniv will personally translate later on. So there we go. But listen, it's an absolute pleasure to be here today and incredible to be here in Tel Aviv. What a great city and what a great event. So thank you. So as Yaniv mentioned, my name's Риצ'רד Jackson and I am Managing Director of Voxburner. What is Voxburner? So we are the UK and Europe's leading youth insights consultancy. And our mission is bringing the youth marketing world together. And we do that in three ways. First off, through Voxburner Plus, which is our premium subscription service offering year-round insights into what's happening into the lives of Gen Z. The second area, as Yaniv mentioned, is our Youth Marketing Strategy Festival. And we host this event in London, New York, Berlin, Los Angeles, potentially Tel Aviv, who knows, who knows. And finally, we offer brands bespoke insights and research into the lives of Gen Z. So there are three arms to the business in a bid to bring the youth marketing world together all year round. Now, before we kick off the presentation, what does it mean to be Gen Z today? And in this room, what do we all know collectively about Gen Z? So I'd like to do, hopefully, a bit of audience interaction to find out from yourselves how well we all know Gen Z. Now, a very British thing to do is to do a poll. We love polling. So we're going to do a poll on the scale of from 1, ahad, all the way through to 10. So hands up in the room, how well you think you know Gen Z on a scale of 1 to 10. So number 1 being, you know what Gen Z are, you know the demographic, and you've got a bit of interest. All the way through to number 10, and you're an expert in Gen Z marketing and can take on Yaniv in his knowledge in the market. So hands up all those level 1s. So that's me as well. So more hands. So how well do we, okay, great. So look, a lot of people here thankfully know what Gen Z is. So level 2, so you're quite prolific in the area, you've got an interest. More hands. Level 3. Fantastic, fantastic. Level 4, even better, fantastic. Level 5, a lot of people. Level 6, muzzle. Level 7, great. Level 8, I'm probably about level 7.5. Level 9, and who's level 10? Who wants to come up and do the presentation? Fantastic, cool. Now, what does it mean to be Gen Z today? What does it mean to be a young person growing up in 2022? So I want to take just a minute in your tables or with your neighbors to have just a 1-minute chat about what you think it really means to be a young person today growing up in Tel Aviv. Have a quick chat. Is it a good time to be a young person? Is it kind of stressful because it's coming out of COVID? Is it great because there's so much freedom and expression? Have a quick chat amongst yourselves, just for 1 minute, and then we'll hear kind of what those conversations are. So make some noise, have a chat, say hello. Great, just 30 more seconds, keep talking. Lots of noise, that's good, it's good. Okay, fantastic. Let's bring that conversation to a close. Sheket, yeah? Cool. Okie doke, fantastic. Who wants to maybe give us a quick rundown of what their table was thinking about Gen Z? Crikey, everyone's very excited. Okay, cool, let's have a bit of Sturm. Sturm, there we go. Cool, yeah, anybody want to raise their hand and give us a quick rundown as to what they think it's like to be a Gen Z today? Any volunteers? Should I pick on somebody? This table here. Here we go. Shh. You know, at your table, what were you discussing about what it means to be Gen Z today? You wouldn't like to be a Gen Z today because... Yeah. So exposed to so much criticism, so much exposure, fantastic. And we've got time for one more. Anybody else want to brave the spotlight? Or should we just hit it? Yannick, what does your table think? What does it mean to be Gen Z today? You envy them because... Sure, so many opportunities. Cool, thank you so much, thank you. So just to start a bit of conversation now, what does it mean to be Gen Z to us? So they are a defining generation. They are politically active, they are vocal in what they want, and they have a view on every single element of society. They're our future consumers. Win Gen Z as a customer today, and hopefully that person will be with you for life. And finally, they're our future leaders. The young people of today will have our jobs tomorrow. They are defining and shaping every area of society in which we live across the globe. But don't just take that from us. We can hear a quick video clip of one of our Voxburner Plus contributors as to what he thinks it means to be Gen Z today.
Welcome to the era of change makers, of risk takers, the first ever digital natives, the era where the internet is a bottomless ocean we sail our imaginations across until we find a good place to swim, where diversity is a folded paper we slide from underneath our portfolio that says, do you like me? Check yes or no. This is the era of work with, not work for. Financial literacy is a class you can take from the comfort of your own TikTok. Depression is a sleeping giant we tap at the bottom of photos. We name the elephant in the room lonely because they both weigh the same. Shopping online is the new playing outside, and sustainability is the password to my online banking. Political views are pickup lines we use to fall in love. This is a generation of game players, of app makers, the no-nonsense takers. This is the era of a time we have never seen. This is the time for Generation Z.
Thank you. A generation of game makers and app makers. So I'm going to be talking this morning around our Youth Trends annual report. Now, this report we release obviously annually, once a year, that looks at what's happening in the real lives of young people today. And the full report, I believe, will be emailed to everybody in this room shortly. But I'm going to be looking at just 4 of the trends discussed in this year's report. So back to the 90s. Why are young people craving a time that they weren't even born in? TikTok is my therapist. Why young people are turning to social media to learn about their mental wellness. Free to be me, the importance of individuality and expression in young people today. And finally, back to reality. The world has been behind closed doors for 1.5, 2 years, and it's now time, thankfully, to get back to reality. So trend number 1, back to the 90s. Now, nostalgia for the 90s and noughties is rife among young people today, even though most of them weren't even born into that era. Now, aside from the 2020s, our research has shown that that young people think that the 90s had the coolest fashions. 41% of young people own clothes inspired by the noughties, and 34% own clothes inspired by the 90s. Our researchers found that young people think that the noughties has the coolest music, something that I personally do agree with. And they think that the noughties was the best decade to grow up in. Now let's have a quick look at a TikTok video that went viral with 40 million views looking at Y2K trends.
Your aspirations to shreds, another cog in the murder machine. They said I'm teenagers scared, the living shit out of me. They could care less as long as someone will bleed. So darken your clothes, I'll strike a violent pose. Maybe it'll leave you alone when you're me, the boy.
How many trends did you spot there of the 90s? Quite a lot. But why do young people resonate so much with the 90s and noughties? Well, it was a more idyllic time in their lives. As mentioned, the past 2 years have been difficult for everybody, but for young people, they've been robbed of so many key milestones that I imagine most of us here took for granted. Graduation, 18th birthday parties, real key moments in their lives have been stolen that they will never get back. And the noughties and 90s remind them of a safer, more comfortable time. And they grew up watching shows set in those eras, like Friends or The Simpsons or maybe even Frasier. And also, trends are cyclical, and they tend to repeat every 30 years. So, for example, when millennials were growing up, fashions from the 70s and 80s were very popular. So the trends repeat themselves every 30 years. However, are trends even important to Gen Z? Do they care about trends? Do they follow trends? Well, our researchers found that 69% of young people do like to see fashion trends on social media. 63% of young people, we found, follow people whose styles that they like. 78% often see peers wearing trends from social media. And maybe most excitingly and really important, 64% of young people do not feel the pressure to keep up with trends. What a great stat. Over half of young people crave that individuality. They do not feel the pressure to keep up with fashion trends. Trend number 2. TikTok is my therapist. Now, mental health is a topic that we discuss time and time again in all our Voxburner reports. The importance of young people looking after their mental well-being. We found that 87% of young people like to see mental health content on social media. They enjoy consuming the content that they know will hopefully help them in their struggles with their mental well-being. 62% actually trust most of the content that they see on social media as facts. 53% of young people have taken advice on their mental wellness after viewing content on social media. Like, really surprising to see that number so high. 60% have fact-checked that source. And this goes back to this idea of young people being so savvy and switched on. They're not just going to read something and believe it straight off. They're going to fact-check. Is what I'm reading true? Can I trust this source? Can I trust this influencer? Can I trust this account? They're checking what they're reading. 60% have wondered if they have a mental health condition from looking at social media. And finally, 26% of young people have tried to get a diagnosis after seeing a condition that they've seen on social media. This is a topic that they feel so very strongly about and passionately about, and it's an area that they're looking after themselves daily with. Now, there is a debate. Should you be getting mental health advice and care from the internet? Is that safe? Should you not go visit a doctor? Well, I think overall the consensus is that it's just great that there's so much awareness around mental wellness within Gen Z. Now, what is the place of us in this conversation. Should brands be getting involved in the conversation on mental wellness? And Gen Z are divided on that topic. Do they think there is a place for brands to talk about mental wellness, or should they start the conversation? Well, 54% of young people, our research found, showed that they think that brands talking about mental wellness actually do care about their customers. However, the 46% that feel like that they only have commercial motives at the heart of those campaigns. And that's still a substantial amount of young people that feel that when brands get involved in the conversation of mental wellness, that actually their motives are driven solely by cash. Now, saying that, there is still a large proportion that think that they should be getting involved. And Gen Z appreciate it when brands speak out about mental wellness, but it's got to be done in the right way and backed up with meaningful, truthful actions. A great example of this is the Rare Beauty campaign, and they did a big campaign across the states, raising awareness at universities, colleges, on campus, in schools, all around young people's mental health. And they matched up to $200,000 worth of donations to Mental Health Awareness Month 21. But they didn't just stop there. It wasn't just a one-off campaign to tick the box. They carried on that sentiment across the whole year and continue to do so, giving 1% of sales to the Rare Impact Fund all year round. So if we are going to get involved in this conversation, let's make it authentic and truthful and really put our money where our mouth is. Trend number 3, free to be me. Now, our research has found that 85% of young people feel that being themselves is more important than fitting in. This is a generation that are not afraid to speak out and be who they really are in the world in which we live. 75% have said that social media is negatively impacting their mental well-being. They're very aware of what they're viewing and censoring what makes them feel good versus what doesn't make them feel so good. 87% of young people have said that they would actively support a brand if they felt represented. When young people are consuming and purchasing, they want to see themselves, their culture, their identity represented in their brand. And if they can see that, our research shows that they'll engage with that brand and they, all being well, will become a loyal customer. However, 55% of young people do not feel represented in advertising. And when I read that, I felt sad. That's over half of young people in our survey do not see themselves, their culture, their identity, their gender, their lives represented in the brand that they're looking to buy from. And I think that's a really, really sad sentiment. Now, Gen Z are the first generation to grow up with social media. From the day they were born, they've been, au fait with social media. And TikTok, as we all know, is a favorite Gen Z social platform. And why? Because it allows them to express who they really are. The creativity, the individuality, and most importantly, the sense of community. It allows them to reach out to other creative communities and build a network of like-minded creators. Now, the video It Started with a Postman was huge last year. Let's have a quick look at a great example of one young person's creativity and passion for music, very unique, and how that reached the globe. We hope.
There once was a ship that put to sea. The name of the ship was a Billy of Tea. The winds blew up her bow, up down, oh below my bully boys blow. Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go.
Sea shanties, what an unusual, unique form of music, and the young person putting that talent out there and it reaching huge communities. So a great example there of how TikTok really lets young people express their individuality. Now, freedom of expression, creativity, and individuality is key by Gen Z. And there is a rebellion against perfectionism. This idea of creating a perfect life online, it no longer exists. Young people want to get real and see the reality of living in today's life. The rise of skincare to enhance beauty, not to cover up beauty, is also becoming more and more popular. The idea that makeup is there not to alter appearances, but actually to enhance one's natural beauty. Glossier is a great brand that celebrates diversity in all their campaigns. Fantastic, on-point brand. Nike, they've introduced plus-size models to their campaigns. And Nike is a brand that, in our top 100 youth brands, comes out #1 every single year as a top fashion brand because of their diversity and inclusion for young people today. And brands that are not receptive of this, that are not engaging young people today and showing how inclusive they are, will ultimately be seen as not relevant and seen as a brand from a bygone era. Gen Z embrace brands that make them feel good about themselves. And let's have a quick look at an example from Nike on one of their recent campaigns.
One day, we won't need this day. We won't need a day to celebrate how far we've come. We won't need a day to prove we're just as fast or strong or skilled. We won't need a day to relive the comebacks, the firsts, or the titles we've won. We won't need a day to rally behind the ones fighting to change the rules. One day, we won't need this day at all, because one day, this day, will be our everyday.
Nike there, a hugely popular brand in all our research around brands for Gen Z. And finally, the final trend to look at today is back to reality. As mentioned, the past 2 years, a lot of us, well, most of us, all of us, have been stuck at home. And how incredible, even right now, to be here in a room together, face to face, shaking hands. It's incredible. And life, thankfully, is now back to reality. However, are Gen Z ready to get off their Zooms and to get off their whatevers and to get back into the real world? Well, thankfully, the research that we've conducted shows that very clearly, yes, the world and young people are ready to get back to reality. 36% of Gen Z made an online purchase at least once a week during the lockdowns, whereas more recently, that's come down to only 23% are now shopping online at least once a week. Young people now are getting back into the stores, into the malls, and why? Well, of course, because they need products, but also because it's a social experience. It's a chance for them to meet friends, engage with one another, see products, and try things out. And it's becoming an event in their calendars to get back into those stores. 64% of students say that in-person classes are better for their mental wellness. Learning online, did its job, but everyone now has realized, thankfully, that they want to get back into those classrooms, into those schools, and have that interaction with their lecturers, their tutors, and their colleagues. 74% of Gen Z have struggled to make friends learning online, and again, are now ready to get back onto campus, back to school, at freshers' fairs, at networking events, to make it easier to make those in-person connections. And finally, 83% of young people favored an in-store dining experience versus a Deliveroo-style takeaway. And again, just like shopping in-store, eating out is a social experience. Tasting food, sharing food, meeting friends. They're ready to get back in those restaurants and start eating with friends in person. And McDonald's ran a great campaign pulling upon those emotional aspects of dining, those social aspects, as they open their stores again post-lockdown. Give it a sec.
Here, very soon, Sam is going to order his Big Mac without pickles. Here, very soon, gossip, hashtags, and oh my gods. Here, over a Happy Meal, Mia is going to see her little cousin Ethan with one baby tooth less. Here, very soon, Damien will finally be able to show off his new driver's license. Here, Charlie will celebrate her 30th in 17 days. 2 months without her buddies, it seemed like forever. Here, very soon, you haven't changed a bit. And are you serious? Here, very soon, colleagues, friends, children, singles, lovers, ex-lovers, and super-in-lovers.
Come back as you are from McDonald's. So some key takeaways. Back to the 90s, young people are craving nostalgia for a time that they weren't even born in. Why? Because they want to feel warm, cozy, and safe again. TikTok is my therapist. If you're thinking about joining the conversation online around mental wellness, let's do it with meaningful actions. Free to be me, empowering Gen Z to be themselves through diversity and inclusion. And finally, back to reality. Gen Z are craving human interaction, and it's finally time for all of us to get real. Now, the full report of the youth trends will be emailed to you, I think probably like later on this afternoon, so do please download it, take a read, and absorb that content. And if you'd like more, then there'll be also information sent around how you can also access our year-round content on Voxburner Plus and gain access to our events, our research, and our video content. I hope you found some nuggets there that resonated with you that you can take back to your office. A huge thank you for being a very engaging and talkative audience at the beginning, so appreciate that, and thank you so much. Cheers.